That is some crazy looking sky. Well, good day everybody, I'm back in the garage. Furnace is just heating up before I get back to working on the Jeep. I got a little Volkswagen project to take care of. Remember that P0215? I got this part coming from Diesel Geeks. Now I know I most likely could have took my car to the dealership and got it fixed, but that issue will still come up sooner or later. Also, yesterday on my way home from work, I picked up this aluminum that I'm going to stick in the lathe, machine it down for the nozzle there. I gotta figure out how I'm going to do that. I'm gonna make that work. Also, from the chainsaw experience, I bought this cheap chainsaw file kit that seems to work all right. And also picked up this for out in the bush, but we will see how things are going to play out. First things first, let's take care of this Volkswagen issue. By the time that's done, the garage should be heated up. However, this also came in. Picked this up off of Amazon as well. This is a thread repair set. Some people like to refer to it as Helicoil, but Helicoil is the brand name. This is not a Helicoil brand. That's why it's a thread repair kit that I picked up to fix this damaged hole in the side and for future purposes. I already found an issue I need to address. You can see where that wire has rubbed through the insulation there. You bastard. There you go, I just popped it off. And the spring came off too. Lift this out. Just like that. And then this piece goes down. You want to make sure it's flush going across. Tighten that up, and then that is prevented from going back too far. That was pretty quick and dirty, like 20 minutes or so. I'm hoping that code will be clear. I need to get some coolant too. I think I need to do a heater core replacement sometime in the near future as well. Well, it's one project taken care of. I don't have to look at that engine light anymore. All right, the car's done. It's time to go down the rabbit hole now. Let's open the hood on this, because that's where we're gonna be for the next little while. Gonna have to remove that top. Of course, it's gotta be a number 8, not the infamous 10mm that always seems to go missing. All right, let's get this top off, and then I will explain the situation that I'm in and what I have to do. So quite a long time ago, if you guys remember, I built this harness, took the time to do all the delete and everything that needed to be done. So the problem I have is that I didn't realize it when I first built it. And the reason why I didn't realize it when I built the harness, because I was just following the instructions, and the instructions were followed to a T on what I was supposed to do. However, it wasn't until it took all that time to go through it and install it and realize that something was majorly wrong. I strapped my hood up. I don't know if this is gonna be a disaster or not. I can't, garage door opener's in the way, but I think I have all the wiring connections off now. So I can pull this off and explain to you why I can't use this wiring harness. So initially, I honestly didn't think anything was wrong until I was installing the wiring and I got down to doing the wiring in the transmission, and then I got a little confused. And the reason why I got a little confused is that the wiring harness had 2 vehicle speed sensors, and then after Googling, this is your main transmission plug right here. There's only 11 wires in it. The 4L60 transmission has 13. Now I know there's 1 wire in here I would have to remove and repin somewhere else and add 2 more wires and run 2 more wires up to the computer harness. But after all the time and effort that I spent in this, I figured, you know what, it's time for me to write it off and just get a brand new harness that's built for the system. So that's why I purchased this harness from Current Performance Wiring. Now the key is, especially when you're going to buy your wiring harness, I always refer to this engine as an LS, but it's not, it's a Vortec engine. When you buy your wiring harness, you need to know exactly what kind of engine it is. The reason for that is that the LS engine has a shorter intake while the Vortec intake is taller. So buying a wiring harness for an LS, because you got the Vortec intake, it's probably a good possibility that the wires aren't going to reach because of the height difference. Buying or getting a harness made for a Vortec engine ensures that it's going to fit properly. Buying this harness through Current Performance, you got to choose all your options, drive-by cable, etc., etc. If you're going to have AC or not. And they build the harness for you. And I haven't really taken it out of the bag yet. But I can tell you right now, this is very good construction built wiring harness. And it's made in the USA. I know there's China harnesses too, but I didn't want to risk it with a China harness, so I purchased this one out of the United States, built in the United States, because I did some reviews and nobody had anything negative to say about them. So I'm just going to put this wiring in a box and put it on the shelf. Who knows, someday I may need it. Do you know what? I can't fucking believe this. I just emailed the company with my invoice number and everything else because I was pretty impressed with these guys because, you know, they sent quality control with the wiring harness and everything else, but there's one fucking major piece fucking missing. They sent everything, looks all nice, but they didn't send the fucking fuse block, which it was supposed to have. So I'm hoping they're going to get back to me in the next couple days, because if they don't, shit's going to hit the fan. There's going to be another fucking rant about piss poor fucking quality products. Tell me, will this bullshit ever fucking end? I just put the wiring harness back in the bag until I hear back from them. Hopefully by the time I'm done filming this video or in the next couple of videos. If we don't have it sorted out, well, fuck, you know what's going to happen. Another rant. But in the meantime, should really start putting the wiring back together for this and start working on the delete before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Well, after the wiring fiasco, I just ran, do some errands, grabbed some Subway. Also picked up some liquid electrical tape for those connections. I need to, it says temperature range minus 45 to 135. I don't know what temperature it needs to be at to cure. But I may do that in the near future, or I may do that later on. But I needed to get some coolant. And for the longest time around here, I could only find coolant for, you know, multi-purpose coolant. But Canadian Tire now has coolant by brand name, and it's also color coded. So, you know, for Chevrolet it's orange, so they got orange one, and they got blue coolant, and it's all got like brand names underneath of what uses that coolant, so that's pretty impressive. Plus I've been running some errands and that code has not come back, so definitely was related to that flap and not in that the wiring harness, which if it's warm this week I'll probably fix it up. This P3 gauge I added a few years ago is definitely the best thing ever, because as much as I like the Jetta dash, there's no gauges. Like, I can't tell you know what my coolant's running at. Like, this here tells me my air intake temperature, ignition, well it's diesel so it doesn't really matter for that, exhaust gas temperature, you know, throttle position, which I don't really need. There's also one for battery boost if you're interested in that, but definitely bought it just for the temperature gauge itself, because that's one of the most important things to me, is what your coolant is running at. Before I start putting the wiring all back in, I get all the wiring for all the aftermarket lights and stuff, and I have an idea to deal with that. Is everybody knows they got the S pods, I believe that's what they're called, which makes all that pretty simple. However, aux beam lighting has one that's similar as well, and I've used aux beam lights for years and never had any issues, and I think they're relatively pretty good price, so I might look at buying their system once it gets closer to that time. But in the meantime, still got to get that wiring sorted out before I can do anything. Hopefully the company should return my message tomorrow, because I'm off tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving the States at a different time, so. But hopefully and get the old wiring harness back in, and this is the one that's got the transmission connector and the two computer plugs on this one here. I can't remember, I think they are. We'll have to go through and figure out, you know, which ones we need, which ones we don't need, and so forth. Alrighty, just getting the garage heated up here. I'm gonna give you an update on this. But it looks like you're gonna get one more kick of the can for gold prospecting this year. Probably gonna head out this weekend one last time on the North Saskatchewan River for call it a season. Kevin had bought a claim down in Cranbrook, and he was there last weekend. And he showed me some pictures of some flakes, but he brought home a bunch of classified dirt. And when I was at his house last night for Thanksgiving dinner, we went through that classified dirt and didn't even find one speck. So we might go back up north, get some flour gold, because you're guaranteed to get gold there, and that'll be season end. So anything, if you head up there this weekend, will be bonus gold for sure. So now that the furnace is stopped, we're going to talk about the issue with the current performance wiring. When I opened up the package, you guys know I was ranting because it did not have the fuse block with it. I just got a confirmation email earlier this morning saying that they apologized and they're going to send a new one out. And I just got the email a few minutes ago with a tracking number saying that they have sent the fuse block out. And this is what I've been talking about forever, especially in the last few videos where I've been ranting. It's all about quality control. How could somebody package that and not realize there's not a fuse block in the fucking package? And, you know, I'm happy that they rectified the situation, but at the same time, this shouldn't have happened. And stuff like this is what delays the project. This should have been finished by now, but I've been plagued with issues throughout the whole build, and after I just quit dealing with so much bullshit, I just, you know, take a step back, and then I come back a little while later. However, in other news, TMR Customs a while ago had this 5-piece dimple die set on sale. So I picked up that from them. Be used on this project as it continues along. But now that I clarified everything, let's start putting this back together as much as we can and continue plugging away. I just finished untangling some of this mess of wire. Gonna start, I guess, on the driver's side. Start by putting that plate back in there and then moving along. Whoops. Dropping anti-seize all over the place. This is something I should have did the first time I built the Jeep. Is anti-seize every fastener that I removed and knew I was going to be putting back. Now the fun thing is, of course, after you've had everything apart for a while, is trying to remember where everything went. Like, for example, the horn can only have one slot basically in there. Transmission control module obviously is not going to go back in, but I want to see reference where it's going to fit. I got the ARB compressor, and I remembered that I welded those in place so I wouldn't have the issue putting it back in. I remember where those holes were drilled. That plate's put back in with the alarm. All right, windshield washer, front and rear. This hose I just connected to the lower port is diverted to the window because that's the most important one. This is the hose for the window. And then the rear one is this one right here, because it has its own line and plug-in by the looks of it. So just plug this one in place, attach that, put off this wiring harness down here. It looks like that could be the one I need. I should have took better mental notes of possibly where this wiring harness went. Alright, so that one looks like it'll fit the horn. I just got this sprayed, it's pretty rusty, so I got a rust converter on it, so it's going black. So maybe I'll put that one there. So then this will walk into this. Alright. Get this ARB compressor set up again. This is just, I believe, one of the smallest models, but it has definitely suited me fine. The only issue I want to make sure is I don't have is more seized nuts and bolts again. So let's anti-seize the shit out of that. And how did I have this mounted? Was it like that? Believe the air compressor here just had 2 wires. The switch doesn't matter. I don't believe what wires go where. Carefully lift this back up. This can go back in place. That rust converter works pretty good. Sanded her down as best I could and spray that stuff on it, and turns it black when it's converting it. Then I'm going to spray paint it black afterwards before I put her back in. I still got to figure out the signal lights. I might put those little small ones inside here, and possibly for the side, run them in the hood. I'm not sure yet. Fuse block is back in. I can't remember right now if this line right here ran on top of that cradle or along that cradle. I gotta figure that out as well. And like I said before, that mess right there with the lights
Probably gonna go with the aux beam system. I looked at the S-Pod, and if you want to go like far out with the digital dash and our digital screen, it's like $1,000 Canadian just to operate your lights. Screw that. The aux beam one's like $150 and does the exact same thing. Probably gonna go that route because it's way cheaper. But it is motherfucking beer time, and I think I'm gonna keep it simple with some Chilkoot. All right, do you know what it is? It's motherfucking beer time. I got quite a bit accomplished over this weekend, even though it doesn't seem like a lot in the video. It's these small things that take up the time, and I'm glad that I got that situation with the wiring harness sorted out, but the shit's gotta stop. That bullshit with ordering aftermarket accessories, missing stuff, not fitting up properly, poor quality is fucking brutal. Anyways, motherfucking beer time. Coming up in the videos to come, going to continue working on the wiring harness, retrofit the fuel tank, doing the final push to get things ready to get it to start up. Hopefully in the next little bit that'll be coming, because I like to move on, get this project finished up, and start working on the trailer that I'm going to use next year for camping. Anyways, motherfucking beer time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for watching.